Please introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I'm Sebastian Guzman. I'm of Chilean-Mexican descent. I came to Australia from North America when I was 9. Being a Muslim is the most beautiful journey, and I can't deny that. The things that I've been exposed after reverting to Islam, otherwise I couldn't think of. It was Islam that showed me the beauty of life.
How long ago did you become a Muslim?
I've been a Muslim since February 2014. I reverted to Islam when I was in a pretty dark spot of my life, but the beautiful love of Allah that He had for me took me out of that hole to the light of Islam.
Where or when you were first introduced to Islam?
The first place that I was introduced to Islam was in cell number 6 on 2nd, landing in Old Silverwater prison. It was at that point that I actually got introduced to Islam by my cellmate. He helped me understand the foundation of Islam. Then the very next day after we had the conversation, the guards woke us up and said that they were dropping off some books. I walked up to the books and there were heaps of books there. The first book I walked up to, I wasn't really paying attention to what book it was because I was looking for anything I could find. It was said an explanation to the last 10th of Holy Quran by Yusuf Ali. I was surprised. We've just been speaking about Islam for like till 3 in the morning and I get this book and not thinking too much of it. I opened it up. Having grown up as a Christian, I never even knew how to ask where do my intentions come from. But in very few words I got full explanation as to where they come from right there and then without any questions I haven't been asked. And it was that moment that the grief of all the bad things that I've done hit me and I buckled. I cried for an hour straight and not just cried like a sob. I'm talking like a full-on grease trick and cry. I never ever had that experience in my life. I was just so much at peace and serenity that I took my Shahada just after 5 minutes. It was probably the most eye-opening experience I ever had in my life. I always remember it and I always get nervous when I speak about it, because it was something that will not just change my life but will allow me to get Jannah inshallah, which is the end goal for everybody after you became a Muslim.
How did your family and friends react after you accepted Islam?
That's a tough one. Some of them turned their back on me and have since now not turned their back on me because they've seen that I've actually been good, but my mother is still not a Muslim. But I think that through my main leading by example, me being a good example, inshallah she might be able to become a Muslim. I don't have a big family here in Australia. Most of my family is in Chile and Mexico. I've got my mum, my sister. My sister don't talk to me. One of the big portions of that is that I'm a Muslim. Now, it's been 4 years now since that happened, since she stopped talking to you. I think that slowly now she's becoming less and less tough on that stance, and I think that any day now when we may be able to get in touch again, because I did heaps of bad things before finding Islam. I didn't treat her very good and that's on me, and you know what, I got alive with that. But at the same time, by being good to my mum, inshallah I might be able to rekindle that.
How was your first Ramadan?
Oh, my first Ramadan was tough, but only the first 3 days were tough because not eating at the usual schedule, it just threw me out of whack. But that's on a spiritual sense, and I felt cleansed. I'd never felt that clean feeling like that before. So once Ramadan came around and went very quickly. My first Ramadan, by the time I was halfway through Ramadan, I was praying. I was in touch with who I am, and it allowed me to get in touch with my Ummah. I started getting in touch with brothers. We started speaking on knowledge. I spent my first Ramadan in jail. You can't do any bad things. You can, but you don't. It's actually a lot easier to stay away from haram things than it is to go towards bad things. So my first Ramadan was the most beautiful experience I've ever had in my life.
Tell us about brotherhood and friendship before and after Islam.
Brotherhood and friendship before Islam compared to after is based on material objects. Material. If you take away the cars, you take away the girls, the money, the clothes, the parties, the lifestyle, the dreams, whatever you might call it. There is no friendship. It was like it never existed. When I started basing my friendship with other people for the love and sake of Allah, it became so much easier to be friends with people because you're not only friends, you're part of the Ummah. So that means that you're part of it. It's more than family. It's you. It's the same as I love you for the sake of Allah, that I will help you in any battle no matter what. Like you don't hesitate to help your brother, whereas before Islam if I asked one of my friends to help me, they don't even know me. We had that many good times and we went to this many parties and we spent years and years doing haram, and you know what did that come to zero? The only friends, so to speak, are the brothers that I have in Islam.
What message do you have to people that are not Muslim that may be considering Islam but hesitant?
Islam is a perfect religion which allows you to understand every aspect of your life through a book called the Quran. Once you start learning the Quran, you will start understanding on how to fix very complex issues that you have about your life. I had very complex issues about my life which when I reverted back to Islam, these things became very simple to fix. I'm not saying that everybody's got problems. Some people might have a great life, but Islam is a guide on how you can better yourself spiritually, and that leads to happiness without the material things.
Sebastian, do you regret it being a Muslim?
Never. I was born to be a Muslim in every sense of the word. Although I was brought up in a Christian sort of household, when I discovered Islam, as I said, and I'll say what I said before, Islam is a perfect religion, and I'm going to say that the differences between the Bible and the Quran speaks in a direct literal sense. It is the word of God. Now I find that the Bible speaks in riddles to me, and I didn't know how to interpret anything. Whereas when I look at the Quran, every aspect of your life can be resolved with Islam. So, there's no doubt to anything.
What request do you have from Allah?
Oh, please let me get to Jannah. That's all I have, or that's all I want to me. This life is short and this life is borrowed. So it doesn't matter what happens in dunya. Be good and do as Allah said, and that way you will have a chance to get the Jannah. So other than that, there's not too much. There's no dua stronger for me. Then please let me get to Jannah and please forgive me for my sins.
Thanks, Sebastian, for letting us having you. It was great pleasure to meet you.
I'm also grateful to you for having me. May Allah reward you both in this world and hereafter.